Hey, welcome. Today we are digging into something that sounds kinda technical, accounting for debt securities. But stick with me here, because what if I told you that a company's simple intention, what it plans to do with an investment, can completely flip its financial results? It's true, and we're about to see exactly how.
So, let's start with a puzzle. Picture this. A company buys a bond. A year later, on paper, its value is down by $1,000. Does that mean the company's profit takes a hit? Well, the answer, believe it or not, is maybe. It totally depends on what that company planned to do with the bond from day one.
Okay, before we go any further, let's just make sure we're on the same page. When I say debt security, you should be thinking of an investment where you're basically the lender. Like a corporate bond or a specific type of preferred stock. You've given someone money and they owe you. You're the creditor. It's that simple.
So, how do we solve that puzzle from the beginning? Well, the accounting rules give us a framework. The very first thing a company has to do when it buys a debt security is sort it into a category. And the deciding factor for that category? It's all about management's intent.
This brings us to what I call the three buckets. Every single debt security a company owns has to be placed into one of these: held to maturity, trading, or available for sale. If you can get your head around these three buckets, you've cracked the code. So let's break them down.
First up, bucket number one, held to maturity, or HTM for short. You can think of this as the set it and forget it investment. This is for the long game.
Now, the rules here are super strict. For a security to land in the HTM bucket, the company needs to have both the positive intent and the actual ability to hang on to it until it fully matures. And that could be years down the line. If there's any real chance they might need to sell it early, maybe for cash or to react to interest rates, then no, it can't be classified as HTM.
And here's why that matters. Look at how these are accounted for. HTM securities are reported at something called amortized cost. Basically, that just means its value on the books isn't affected by the daily mood swings of the market. Those day-to-day value changes are just ignored. They don't touch the company's profit. So the bottom line for HTM is this. Remember that bond that dropped by $1,000? If it was classified as held to maturity, that drop would have precisely zero impact on the company's net income for the year. The only thing that affects profit is the interest it earns over time.
All right, let's jump to the second bucket, which is the total opposite of HTM, trading securities. This is the fast-paced buy low, sell high world. We're talking short-term plays here.
With these, the whole point is to make money off of quick price jumps. So if a company is actively managing a portfolio, buying and selling all the time to turn a quick profit, those investments are going to be classified as trading securities.
And this is where the accounting gets turned on its head. Trading securities are always reported at their current market value, or fair value. And here's the kicker. Any change in that value, even if they haven't sold it yet, goes directly onto the income statement as an unrealized gain or loss. It immediately impacts the company's bottom line profit.
This makes way more sense with an example. So let's follow a fictional company. We'll call them Maverick Co. They're going to buy some redeemable preferred stock, which counts as a debt security, and they're going to classify it as a trading security.
Okay, so on October 1st, Maverick shells out $15,000 for these shares. On their books, cash goes down by $15,000, and a new asset called trading securities goes up by $15,000. Pretty straightforward, right?
But here's where it gets interesting. Fast forward to the end of the year, December 31st. The market value of those shares has fallen to $14,000. Now, even though Maverick is still holding on to them, they have to write down the asset's value by $1,000. And that $1,000 gets recorded as an unrealized holding loss, which directly reduces their net income. It's a real, tangible hit to their profit for the year.
Then, a few months later, the market recovers and Maverick sells the stock for $21,000. Now, how much profit do they report? Well, the gain isn't based on the original $15,000 they paid. It's based on the last value they reported, that $14,000. So they get to book a $7,000 gain on the sale, which boosts their profit in this new period.
So, we've seen the two extremes, right? The stable, long-term HTM and the volatile, short-term trading. That brings us to our third and final bucket, available for sale, or AFS. This is the middle ground, the just-in-case investment.
The way you define this one is actually by what it's not. If a company buys a security and they don't plan to hold it to maturity, but they're also not actively trading it, well, it lands here. It's the default category. It's available for sale, if the right opportunity or need comes along.
Now, AFS securities are similar to trading securities in one big way. They're also reported on the balance sheet at their current fair value. But, and this is a huge but, here's the twist. Those unrealized gains and losses, they completely bypass the income statement.
So, where do they go? They get tucked away in a special place called Other Comprehensive Income, or OCI. Think of OCI as this little holding pan inside of stockholders' equity. The ups and downs in value are tracked there, but they're kept totally separate from the company's main profit number until the day they actually sell the investment. So if Maverick stock had been AFS, that $1,000 paper loss would go to OCI, and their net income would have been completely untouched.
Okay, deep breath. We've walked through all three buckets: held to maturity, trading, and available for sale. Now let's put them all next to each other to really see why this matters so much. This table really says it all. Held to maturity uses amortized cost, so no impact on net income from market swings. Trading uses fair value, and bam, unrealized gains and losses hit net income directly. And finally, available for sale also uses fair value, but the impact gets rerouted to OCI, shielding net income from all that volatility.
And that really brings us full circle. The most important thing to take away from all this is that a company can buy the exact same investment, but depending on which of these three buckets they put it in, the effect on their reported profit can be radically different. It's the same asset, but a different story, and it all boils down to intent.
And this all leaves us with one last, pretty big question to chew on. If a company's stated intent has this much power to shape its profits, what's to stop them from just picking whichever bucket makes them look best? How do we know their intent is genuine? Well, that's where the auditors come in, and it just goes to show you how much judgment is involved in what looks like a simple numbers game.